So this is part two to my interview experience. Someone was asking if I got the job. Well, I'm wearing a sweater. The time is it's like it's really cold here in Jamaica. I have not worn this in a very long time. I think since I went to Jersey. I think last time I wore it was when I went to New Jersey, which was Jesus in 2024. Because I don't really get cold. Even when the time is cold, I don't really get cold. But this cold front that we're experiencing is something else. It is extremely cold. I'm sleeping in sweatpants and socks, and because I don't really have much cold weather clothing. I mostly have like just really marinas and like t-shirts that are very thin. I don't even have a top cover that I don't sleep under the covers because no matter how cold the time gets, my fan is always running because I get hot. But this, I don't know what's going on, but this weather is something else. Anyways, so of course, like I said, it was an interview that was not an interview because I was asked to bring in physical copies of my resume and an application letter. And the person just wanted to see me um, before I essentially was invited for an interview. This was a bank, right? And so, of course, I went in. I was appropriately dressed, but I was not dressed for an interview, right? And I didn't answer any of the questions in the conventional way. I just spoke honestly, right? And so I wasn't expecting any kind of offer. I had already kind of like decided that I wasn't interested. Um, because I did ask my friend to kind of like find out what the salary was. Because I'm like, listen, I want to waste my time. And then when I heard what the salary was, I was like, what the hell? They're still paying that kind of money in 2026 when we have two back to back disasters. We had COVID, and you know what happens when we have these kind of things, inflation. So we had COVID and inflation went through the roof. And then we had Hurricane Melissa, and then in another added layer of inflation. So it's like in 2026, the cost of living is very high. So if you are working, I mean, for persons who are already in a job, sucks for you because, of course, they're not going to take into consideration cost of living adjustment and give you a raise that can help you to cushion the inflation. Employers don't do that because all they care about is chasing profit. And people don't understand the less I pay you is the more retained earnings I have. It is just that simple. So of course they're not going to consider that okay, we had two major natural disasters, and as a result of that, the cost of living obviously has skyrocketed. And we're not talking about inflation that is officially reported. This is why I'm writing. I'm working on my book. I'm almost. I don't want to say I'm almost finished. I have two appendices and the reference page, and then I have to do a second, like a final edit where you go through and make sure that like proofreading, sort of like the tone is consistent, you're using the consistent tense, there are no like grammatical errors, that sort of thing. Of course, writing a book is, especially when you're doing it by yourself, it takes a long time. I know people say, oh, use AI and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you can't, if you're going to write anything of substance, you cannot use AI to write it like that. AI can help you a lot, but you can just put something in there and say, give me a book, and you get a book. I mean, it will give you stuff, but it's going to be just mumbo jumbo, right? So if you want to write anything of substance, it's going to take time. And so I'm taking my time because I want it. I even did walkthroughs and like I'm reading through and I'm like, yes, like it like the quality is what I'm like I'm getting the quality that I want. It is it turns out to be like an economics book, but that's not what I intended. But it's looking like, because I'm talking about inflation, why we are experiencing the crunch that we are experiencing now, and that sort of thing. So, of course, the guy said to me, "Okay, so what do you because all of this time I'm thinking, well, he sure as hell ain't gonna hire me, right? Because I am not answering any of the questions in the traditional sense. I am, because even though he said it wasn't an interview, I was being interviewed because all the questions were interview questions. Because if it was a situation where, because what I was expecting was I would walk in, hand him the resume. Hey, I'm John. Hey, I'm Jack. How are you doing? Fine, thank you. All right, thanks. Look at the resume. Okay, resume looks good. All right, cool. When would be a convenient time for you to come in? That's what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting to be asked interview type questions. But of course, and this is what I plan to do going forward. I'm like, any job that I get, I'm not preparing for any interview. I'm just gonna go in and I'm just gonna be myself. And if they don't like what they see, they don't like what they see, and that's the end of the fucking story. Don't give a shit, right? So he said, well, what do you think about a contract position? It's not a permanent position. The position is for 6 months, but there is a possibility for it to be renewed after the 6 months has elapsed. Now, mind you, I'm coming from Holiday Inn, where I did almost 12 years on contract, and Holiday Inn is now sold. And at the end of that almost 12 years, they gave me a 3-month contract and didn't renew it, and that was the end of the story. And people thought I got paid or I didn't get 1 red cent. Then almost 12 years of service, and towards the end, they basically just got rid of everybody because that's what they did. They made it one person, she just stopped coming to work because during COVID, she was like, I have to, because we had the no movement days, and she had to charter a taxi to get to work. And she's like, the money that I'm paying to charter a taxi to come here, because she worked the night shift, to work, is more than what I am being paid for the week. So it does not make any sense. And so she just stopped coming. Some people were sent home indefinitely. There was nothing about what would happen, whether they would be called back, and of course they weren't being paid while they were home. So of course people have to look a job because you're not being paid enough money to sit at your home for 6 months, 7 months, a year and be okay. Most people are living from paycheck to paycheck. So if you send someone home and they just to wait until you call them and they don't know if they're going to get a call, it is not, they just can't sit at home and do nothing. They have to find another job because they're already living from paycheck to paycheck, right? So I'm like, what do you mean contract? So I said, just so that we understand. I'm like, okay, so the 6 months has ended. You liked my performance. You like how I acquitted myself during the 6 month period, and you wish now to extend me another 6 month contract, right? And let's say I am working with the company for the next 15 years. Is it that over the period of that 15 years, I will be getting a series of 6 month contracts? So for the whole 15 years, all I will be getting is 6 month contract, 6 month contract, 6 month contract. Him say yes. I'm like, that ain't gonna work. I'm like, I have done that before and I am not doing it again. Because at the end of the day, unless you are going to pay me as a contractor and not an employee, because this is literally what I said to him. I said, unless you're going to pay me as a contractor and not an employee, because what companies are doing now is that they claim that the position is contract, right? And so they give you a short-term contract, whether it's 6 months, 5 months, 7 months, 11 months, whatever, and it keeps rolling over. So it doesn't matter how long you're with the company, all you're getting are these short-term contracts. But the company treats you as an employee. And so because you're on contract, under law, the benefits of an employee do not accrue to you, right? So when you leave or when your contract ends, if they don't renew it, you have nothing to gain, because the law will only recognize the contract. So if the contract says 6 months and you have been with this company for 10 years, but all you have been getting over the 10-year period is 6 month contract, the law only recognizes the contract, and that would say that you've been working with the company for 6 months. So unless you're going to pay me as a contractor, then that is not something that I am willing to accept. So he said, okay, well, it's a contract position and that is how they intend to do it. And he thanked me for my time and I left. Because I'm like, and this is like, of course, I'm like, yes, I said to him, I know better now, and the whole point of knowing better is so that you do better. I did it before, but because I didn't know, right? But now that I know, I can't now come back into a situation because I'm going to take the job, and you're going to be paying me this money, and then I'm going to now be, because a lot of people do that. They come to the interview. In most cases, they don't even. There's no discussion about salary, right? And then they get the offer, and what they normally do is they don't even tell you what the full amount is, because when I was working at Holiday Inn, I don't know what the yearly salary was. You get a contract that says you'll be paid $15,000 per week plus gratuity. That's it. So you don't know, okay, it's $15,000 per week, and you get gratuity, and then maybe gratuity is $8,000, so that's $23,000, but you don't know what the yearly salary is, right? And it's years after I'm like, I was making $1.2 million, $1.3 million, like the fuck? Because, and this is how they get people, right? Because unless you look, so you have to wait now until you run a full year, as in from January to December, and you look at your year-to-date gross salary on your pay stub to see what your yearly salary is. They don't tell you. They don't tell you this is how much you're getting per annum. They don't. And so a lot of people don't even know, because of course if you go and they tell you, okay, we're going to be paying you $700,000 per year or $800,000, you're going to be like, $700,000 can't do nothing. But if they tell you the week, this is what they do now. So when the salary is small, they tell you what you're getting each pay period. They don't tell you what the annual salary is, because of course it is a small amount. Only when it is like maybe close to $2 million or over, they'll tell you, oh, it's $2.5 million or whatever the case may be. But if it is anything under $1.5 million, they're not telling you that. Because if you hear $900,000, $1 million, you're gonna be like, hell no, that's not gonna work. So they tell you what they, and it, oh, this is what they do to con people. Oh, there's a potential to earn. Nothing like that. I've worked in the hotel industry, I think, for 17 years. 17 years? Maybe 17, 18 years. And in all that time, the gratuity never goes above a certain number. Christmas come and you have $400 room, $400 night for room, $450. Sometimes room will go up to $600 because if them book suite. And hotel ram, the gratuity don't move. There's a cap on it. They're not paying you more than $12,000 for gratuity. So when the room, they are 150, 155, sometimes they have, especially during the down period when they're trying to get local and they have this local rate, 2 for 1, blah, blah, blah. And maybe, you end up paying like $140 per night for 2 persons or whatever the case might be, right? You get probably $8,000. But when you have peak season, where the hotel is full, you're overbooked, you have to be outbooking people to other resorts, and the rate is, the minimum rate, the minimum you can get per night is probably $250 a night, or $280, and that if you know somebody at the hotel or whatever, guess what? You're not getting more than $12,000 for gratuity. That's what they did. So at the end of the day, this is how they get people, and it is such, and this is why I am so, disinterested in even applying for jobs, because it's like, you go to these jobs and it is so much fucking work. My last job, like, work did a stone dog. It is the most I have worked, like the last job that I left is the most, as much as the hotel get busy and sometimes I was the only one on the shift, this last job here, like, there was like work. There was so much goddamn work, and the pay was just not worth it. It just wasn't worth it. And I'm thinking, okay, if I'm going to work in a bank, I pass bank every day, and I see if you pass at 5:30 in the morning, there's a long line outside. There's a long ass, like, the bank is always full, and you want to pay me $140,000 a month plus I am on contract? Are you out of your goddamn mind? I'm like, hell no. I'm not gonna, no. No. That's not working. And in this is the same PSOJ coming out to say Jamaicans don't want to work, or we want more money than the value that we are contributing to the company. And it is just not true. When you look at the salary, if you look at inflation over the last 40 years, and you do, like, somebody do the math. I'm sure the BOJ has the figures. You do the because it would have to be cumulative. Because remember, when prices go up, they don't come down. So if inflation, and we're talking about just the average inflation, because we know food inflation is way more. over the last 50 years, just look at whatever they claim the inflation was, right? And you add those up cumulatively, or take the weighted average. Weighted average would be better, right? Of the inflation over the last 50 years. And look at how salaries increase. Because if you have been, the longer you stay with a company, the worse off you become. So of course, over time, your salary buys less and less and less and less and less. And that is what is happening to a lot of people. And so that is why people are now, because they're feeling the crunch, they have no choice but to say, hey, we need more money. But they're making it seem as if we are underqualified and we want more than what we are worth. And when you look at the volume of work that you have to do compared to the compensation, it is just not worth it. So, this was certainly an experience for me. And I'm glad that I just answered the questions the way that I wanted to answer it. And in the end, unfortunately, it just wasn't worth my time.